The NBA All-Star Game, I believe, is taking place this weekend in Salt Lake City. And you guys know, if you follow OutKick or follow my travels at all, I love it out in Utah. Love Salt Lake City. I think the state of Utah is fabulous. People have been tremendously welcoming to me and my family out there. But the All-Star Game going there is a big deal for people who are Utah Jazz fans. The Jazz are the only major pro sports franchise in the state of Utah. And what I think is fascinating is the lack of story. And let me explain. You guys will remember in 2017, the NBA made the decision to take the All-Star Game out of Charlotte, North Carolina, because of a transgender bathroom bill that had been passed in North Carolina. Do you remember that controversy? I wrote about it. It was, to me, an incredible failure of the NBA's woke agenda that they made the decision to pull the All-Star Game out of North Carolina over that transgender bathroom bill. And the transgender bathroom bill basically said you're supposed to use the bathroom of your birth certificate. In other words, it's not some wild, controversial, crazy question. It's not like there are bathroom attendants doing Crocodile Dundee gender check style. They're just going to say, as a general rule, you should use the bathroom on your birth certificate. Boys use the boys' room, girls use the girls' room. Not that complicated. But guess what? Nobody's also standing outside checking. The NBA pulled their All-Star Game out of North Carolina over that bill. Turned into a major cultural flashpoint. I said it was absurd. I said it was ridiculous. I said it was a sign of the absurdity of the woke NBA agenda. Guess what? All-Star Game's taking place in Salt Lake City this weekend. Do you know what's going on in Salt Lake City and in the state of Utah? They have recently passed two bills, which I support and believe are bills that the vast majority of Americans would support and that the vast majority of American sports fans would support. Among those bills, one, they passed a bill saying kids in schools needed to play on the sports teams that corresponded with their birth certificate, in high school in particular. That is, if your birth certificate says you're a boy, you should compete in boys athletics in high school. If your birth certificate says you're a girl, you should compete in girls athletics in high school. I don't think either of those are remotely controversial. What it's designed to prevent is somebody who is a boy deciding to identify as a girl and potentially dominating in sports there. I think all 50 states should mandate that kids compete against the gender that is on their birth certificate, specifically to avoid boys identifying as girls and going and winning women's sports championship, right? I don't think it's controversial. Utah passed that bill. No comment from the NBA. Utah also just passed a bill that says that if you are under the age of 18, you can't receive puberty blockers and you can't have surgery to, for instance, chop your boobs off if you're a girl who has decided that you're a boy. You can't have those surgeries. You can't have those medical treatments if you're under the age of 18. I think that also makes total sense. Bravo to Utah. I think all 50 states should pass this bill as well. Many states won't legally allow you to, for instance, get a tattoo until you're 18 years old. Certainly, you can't drive a car until you're 16. You can't buy a beer until you're 21. You can't even rent a car until you're 25. What sense does it make to prohibit somebody from getting a tattoo when they're a minor, but allow them to take pills that stop puberty and or allow them to have surgery that tries to change what their biological gender is? It's crazy, right? Both of those bills are fantastic, in my opinion, and should be passed by the state of Utah. But the NBA isn't saying a word about them. And the media that covers the NBA isn't saying a word about them. Why is that? because the NBA is default acknowledging that they got it wrong when they pulled the All-Star game out of Charlotte. And the media is not covering it because they don't want to point out that the NBA is essentially admitting that they were wrong to pull the All-Star game out of Charlotte and out of the state of North Carolina. Because which is a bigger deal? The two bills that Utah passed or the bathroom bill? The two bills that Utah passed are way bigger. One of them directly involves sports, yet the NBA has realized that their woke agenda is destroying their brand. They're also aware of the hypocrisy. We have won this fight to a large degree. Because if you're going to play games in China, if you're going to play games in the Middle East, China has actual concentration camps for Muslim minority Uyghurs. And in the Middle East, you could still be decapitated if you're gay. Yet the NBA is fine taking the money of China and the money out of the Middle East. And they've been holding America to this crazy left-wing woke agenda. Well, the silence in Utah is deafening. And you're probably not even going to see anyone else even mention this because we won. It's important to note when you win, because in this crazy woke sports media universe, a lot of times they want to deny wins to people like you and me, to the 80% plus of normal people in America who say, hey, boys should compete against boys and girls should compete against girls. And oh, by the way, maybe we shouldn't chop off 14-year-old girls' breasts and call it progress. This is a win because the NBA has recognized that even its fan base is on the side of sanity. And so rather than draw any attention to this at all, the NBA is rolling right into Salt Lake City and not saying a word about the state laws that have been passed by Utah. I think it's the right decision, but it's the exact opposite decision that they made in North Carolina, and it's receiving almost no recognition in the media at all. Boom. Congratulations. The woke sports agenda is losing. It is. We are winning because the vast majority of people are on our side, and even the woke NBA is having to acknowledge it, even if they're doing it quietly. We were right. Adam Silver was wrong. The woke sports media was wrong, and we have won a major battle for sanity because the NBA's rolling right into Salt Lake City and right into Utah, and every single one of them is keeping their mouth shut and playing basketball and not trying to influence what sane people in Utah are doing to protect the sanctity of sports and the sanity of young kids that otherwise might make decisions that they don't agree with when they get older. Hey, I love the win, baby. Just count it. Boom. Yes, indeed.